When I was a boy, I noticed a thin line of white powder along the bottom of our kitchen door. I thought my mother had spilled flour. I got the broom to sweep it up. She stopped me. She said, "Do not touch that line." She said it is bug dust. She said as long as that line is there, no crawling thing comes through that door. I put the broom away. I watched that kitchen all summer. She was right. Not a single ant crossed that threshold. The neighbors on the English side had ants every year. We did not. The difference was a line of powder that cost less than $1. My mother learned it from her mother from hers. I do not know how far back it goes, but every Amish kitchen I have been in has some version of that line, near the door, the window, or the place where the pipes come through the wall. But before I show you what that powder is, I need to tell you something about ants that changes the whole problem. Because the ants in your kitchen are not the problem. They are a symptom. And until you understand the real problem, you will keep spraying and they will keep coming back. I also need to tell you about a mistake an English family made with this powder that could have hurt someone. There are two kinds, and one is not safe. I will get to that. In the next 30 minutes, I want to show you 3 things. First, why the ants keep coming back to the same spot in your kitchen no matter how many times you spray. And it has nothing to do with crumbs or cleanliness. The answer is invisible, and it is on your floor right now. Second, what this powder actually is and how it works. Because when you understand what it does at a size too small for your eyes to see, you will understand why it has kept Amish kitchens and grain storage free of insects for generations. And third, how to apply it correctly so it works for months without reapplying, including the 4 mistakes that will either make it useless, create a mess, or put the wrong kind in your house. Stay with me. Here is what you do when you see ants in your kitchen. You see a line of them marching across the counter toward the sugar bowl or along the baseboard toward the trash can. You grab a spray can or a paper towel and you kill them. Every single one. You wipe the counter clean. You spray the baseboard. You feel satisfied. The ants are gone. The next morning, they are back. Same spot, same line, same direction. You spray again. They come back again. You call an exterminator. He sprays a chemical along the baseboards and around the doors. The ants disappear for 2 weeks. Then they come back. Same spot, same line, same path across the counter to the sugar bowl. Have you ever wondered why they always come back to the exact same place? Because you killed the ants, but you did not kill the trail. And the trail is the real problem. When an ant finds food in your kitchen, it does not just carry the food back to the colony. On its way back, it lays down a chemical on the surface it walks on. That chemical is called a pheromone. It is a signal that says food is this way. Every ant that follows the trail and finds food lays down more pheromone on the same path. The trail gets stronger with every trip. Within a few hours, you have a highway of pheromone leading from a crack in your foundation straight to the crumbs under your toaster. When you spray the ants, you kill the bodies. The pheromone is still on the floor, the baseboard, the counter. It is invisible. It has no smell that you can detect. But to the next ant that wanders near that crack in the foundation, the trail is as clear as a painted line on a road. It walks in, follows the trail, finds the food, lays down more pheromone, and the cycle starts over. The exterminator's spray kills the ants it touches. The spray evaporates within days. The pheromone trail, which is a different chemical entirely, can persist on indoor surfaces for weeks. The ants are dead. The map to your kitchen is still there. The colony sends more scouts. The scouts find the trail. The trail leads to your sugar bowl. And the exterminator comes back next month for another $30 to $50. Do you see the pattern? You are paying to kill ants. Nobody is paying to erase the trail. And as long as the trail exists, the colony knows exactly where your kitchen is. Now here is what my mother's powder does differently. And this is the part that made me understand why that line at the door worked when nothing else the English neighbors tried ever did. The powder is called diatomaceous earth. I know that is a long name. My mother just called it bug dust. It is made from something so small you cannot see it without a strong glass. Millions of years ago, tiny creatures called diatoms lived in lakes and oceans. They were smaller than a grain of sand. Each one had a shell made of silica, which is the same material as glass. When they died, their shells sank to the bottom and piled up over thousands and thousands of years until the layers were many feet thick. Those layers hardened into a soft, chalky rock. When you grind that rock into powder, you get diatomaceous earth, a fine white powder that feels like flour between your fingers. But under a strong glass, each particle looks nothing like flour. Each particle is a tiny broken shell with edges as sharp as glass. To your skin, the particles are too small to feel. To an ant, they are a field of broken glass. An ant's body is protected by a thin, waxy coating on the outside of its shell. That wax keeps the moisture inside the ant's body from evaporating. It is what keeps the ant alive in dry air. When an ant walks through diatomaceous earth, the sharp edges of the particles scratch through that waxy coating. Tiny cuts, invisible to your eye, but enough to break the seal. The ant's body moisture starts evaporating through the cuts. Within 24 to 48 hours, the ant dehydrates and dies. Not from poison, from losing its coat. And here is the part that connects this back to the pheromone trail. An ant that walks through a line of diatomaceous earth at your door threshold is going to die before it reaches the food in your kitchen. And even if a scout ant makes it past the powder, it will die on the return trip before it can reinforce the trail back to the colony. Within a few days, the trail goes cold. No ants are returning to strengthen the pheromone signal. The trail fades. The colony stops sending scouts to your kitchen. Not because the ants are afraid, because the trail they were following no longer exists. My mother did not know any of this science. She knew that when the powder was at the door, the ants stopped coming. That was enough for her. It was enough for her mother. It has been enough for our community for as long as anyone remembers. We also use it in the grain bins. When we store wheat or corn or oats for the winter, we mix a small amount of diatomaceous earth into the grain. Any weevil or grain beetle that tries to feed on the stored food walks through the powder and dies. The grain stays clean all winter without a single drop of chemical. We feed that grain to the animals, and we grind it into flour for our own bread. The powder is safe to eat. It passes through the body without doing any harm. Food companies use it as something they call an anti-caking agent to keep powdered products from clumping together in the package. You have probably eaten it many times without knowing. I remember helping my father pour grain into the storage bins in the fall. He would scoop a cup of the powder for every bushel of grain and mix it in by hand. I asked him why. He said so the bugs do not eat our winter. That sentence stayed with me because it was so plain and so true. The bugs wanted our winter food. The powder stopped them. The grain fed the family until spring. No weevils, no beetles, no waste, and no poison in the flour that my mother baked into bread every week. Here is how to use it in your home. Step 1. Buy food, grade diatomaceous earth. This is important, and I will explain why in a moment. It is sold at garden supply stores, farm supply stores, and hardware stores. A 1-pound bag costs about $2. A 4-pound bag costs about $8 and will last an entire season. The bag must say food grade on the label. Do not buy any bag that does not say food grade. I will explain. Step 2. Find the entry points. Before you put the powder down, watch where the ants are coming from. Follow the trail backward from the food to the wall. Find where they enter the house. It is usually a crack in the baseboard, a gap around a pipe, a space under the door, or a crack in the foundation near the floor. You may need to watch for 10 or 15 minutes to see the full path. Step 3. Wipe the trail with a cloth dampened in plain white vinegar. The vinegar disrupts the pheromone chemical on the surface. You are erasing the map. This is the step most people skip, and it makes a large difference. If you leave the trail intact and just put powder at the door, the ants will try to find a way around the powder because the trail is still calling them. Erase the trail first, then block the path. Step 4. Apply a thin line of diatomaceous earth along every entry point. I mean thin. You should barely be able to see it. A thick pile of powder is less effective because the ants will walk around it. A thin layer is invisible to them until they are already walking through it. Use a small spoon or pinch it between your fingers and tap it along the crack, the threshold, the windowsill, wherever the ants were entering. The line should be continuous with no gaps. Think of it the way my mother did. A line from one side of the door to the other. No breaks. Now, here is the mistake I promised to tell you about. And this one is serious enough that I want to make sure everyone watching understands it. An English family down the road heard about our method from their neighbor who had visited our farm. The husband went to the hardware store and asked for diatomaceous earth. The store carried 2 kinds. One was labeled for garden and pest control. The other was labeled for pool filtration. The pool grade was cheaper. He bought the pool grade and spread it along his kitchen baseboards and under his cabinets. Pool grade diatomaceous earth is not the same product. It has been heated in a kiln at very high temperatures. That heat changes the silica from an amorphous form to a crystalline form. Crystalline silica is dangerous to breathe. It can damage lungs the way asbestos damages lungs. It is sold for swimming pool filters, not for home use around people and animals. The man's wife noticed a fine dust in the air near the baseboards, and their youngest child was playing on the kitchen floor near it. Their neighbor called me and told me what had happened. I drove over and told them to remove all of it immediately, ventilate the house, and wash the floors with wet cloths. Do not sweep, because sweeping puts the dust back in the air where you breathe it. They did. Nobody was harmed because they caught it early. But if they had left pool-grade powder on a kitchen floor for weeks with a small child crawling near it, it could have been a very serious matter. The child's lungs are small and close to the ground. The dust rises every time someone walks past. This is not something to get wrong. The label matters. Food grade is safe. Pool grade is not. Read the bag. If it says pool or filter, do not bring it into your house. Step 5. Leave the powder in place. Do not sweep it up after a few days. Diatomaceous earth works as long as it stays dry. In a dry indoor location, a single application lasts for months. If it gets wet, it loses its effectiveness. because the sharp edges are blunted by moisture. Reapply after mopping, or if the area gets damp. But in the crack along the baseboard or under the edge of the cabinet, it will sit there quietly doing its work from spring until fall without a single reapplication. Step 6. Apply a line outside the house along the foundation where the ants are entering. This creates a second barrier before they even reach the door. A thin dusting along the base of the foundation wall on the outside, protected from rain by the eave overhang, will catch scout ants before they find a way inside. Reapply outside after rain. If you are thinking about checking your kitchen door right now, I hope you will stay with us. I have something to share next week about keeping your house warm this winter for almost nothing. I want to tell you something about how the exterminator business works, because it connects to everything I have told you about the trail and the powder. When an exterminator comes to your house for ants, he sprays a chemical along the baseboards, around the doors, and sometimes around the outside foundation. The chemical kills ants on contact. It also leaves a residual that kills ants that walk over it for a few days. Then it fades. The ants are dead. But the pheromone trail was laid by a different chemical than the one in the spray. The spray kills bugs. It does not erase trails. Those are two different jobs, and the spray only does one of them. Within 2 to 4 weeks, scouts from the same colony follow the old trail back toward your kitchen. The spray residual has faded. They enter. They find food. They lay fresh pheromone on the old trail. The ants return. You call the exterminator. He comes back. He sprays. He charges $30 to $50. He schedules the next visit. Have you ever asked an exterminator why the ants keep coming back after he sprays? Because the honest answer is that his spray was never designed to solve the problem permanently. It was designed to manage it monthly. A monthly service contract is how the business works. 7 visits during ant season at $30 to $50 each, $210 to $350 per season. The exterminator is not hiding a better solution from you. He may not even know about the powder. His company trained him on spray because spray is what the company sells. The powder is a one-time purchase that the homeowner applies without professional help. There is no monthly visit. There is no contract. There is no phone call in June to schedule the next treatment. The business model chose spray not because it works better, but because it generates recurring revenue. The powder works better and generates almost nothing. I do not say this to be unkind to exterminators. Many of them are good people doing honest work. But the system they work in does not reward solving problems permanently. It rewards managing them monthly. And there is a difference between solving and managing that is worth the cost of a $2 bag of powder to discover. Now, let me tell you more about my mother, because her approach to ants was part of a larger way of thinking about a home that I believe the English world has mostly lost. My mother did not react to problems. She prevented them. The line of powder at the door was not something she put down after she saw ants. She put it down in April before the first ant of the season appeared. She refreshed it once in midsummer. 2 applications per year, 10 minutes total, and the kitchen was clean from April to October without a single ant, a single spray, or a single dollar spent on an exterminator. She did the same thing with the pantry, a thin dusting of the powder on the shelf paper before she put the jars and cans down. The same powder mixed lightly into the flour bin and the cornmeal bin to keep weevils out. She told me once that the English wait for a problem and then spend money to fix it. We prepare for a problem and spend nothing when it does not come. I was too young to understand what she meant. Now I am 70 and I understand it perfectly. She kept that line at the door for over 40 years. Now I need to be honest about the limits, because honesty is the only thing I have to offer on this channel. Diatomaceous earth works on ants, roaches, silverfish, earwigs, beetles, and most crawling insects that walk through it. It does not work on flying insects because they never touch the powder. It does not work when wet. If your kitchen has a moisture problem near the floor, a leaking pipe or condensation along the baseboard, the powder will clump and lose its sharp edges. Fix the moisture first, then apply the powder. Dry powder works. Wet powder does not. It does not kill the colony. It kills the ants that enter your house and breaks the trail so the colony stops sending more. The colony lives in the soil outside and will continue to live there. That is fine. The colony was there before your house was built, and it will be there after. Ants in the soil are part of the land. They turn earth, they break down dead things, they feed the birds. You do not need to kill the colony. You just need to keep them out of your kitchen. That is a boundary, not a war. My mother understood that difference better than most people I have met. And if you have a severe infestation with hundreds of ants streaming through multiple entry points, the powder may take a full week to break all the trails. Be patient. The first 2 days you will still see ants crossing the powder. They are already dying. They do not know it yet. By the 3rd or 4th day, the numbers drop. By the end of the week, the trails are cold and the kitchen is clear. Patience is the part of this that costs nothing and that most people are least willing to spend. Here are 4 mistakes that will make this fail. Mistake number 1, applying too much powder. A thick, visible line of white powder is less effective than a thin dusting. The ants see the pile and walk around it. A thin layer is invisible to them and they walk through it without detecting it. Less is more. You should barely see it. Mistake number 2, buying pool grade instead of food grade. I told you that story. Read the label. Food grade only. Mistake number 3, sweeping up the powder after a few days because you think it has done its job. The powder is the job. It works continuously for months, as long as it stays dry. Sweeping it away reopens the entry point, and the next scout ant that finds the old trail walks right through the gap you just created. Mistake number 4, and this is the one that explains why you have been fighting ants every summer for years. Believing that killing the ants you can see solves the problem. It does not. The ants you see are workers following a trail that was laid by a scout you never saw. The trail is the infrastructure. The ants are the traffic. You can clear the traffic all day, and the infrastructure will bring more. My mother understood this without ever using the word pheromone. She knew that if she stopped the ants at the door, the problem was solved. She did not chase them across the counter with a rag. She put a line of powder at the threshold and let the powder do the work. She managed the entry, not the invasion. That is the difference between solving a problem and reacting to one. And it is the reason our kitchen has been ant-free for longer than I have been alive. Let me give you the simple numbers. An exterminator charges $200 to $350 per ant season. Over 10 years, $2,000 to $3,500. Over 30 years, $6,000 to $10,000. A bag of food-grade diatomaceous earth costs $2 and lasts a full season with 1 or 2 applications. Over 30 years, about $60. And your kitchen stays clear, not because you killed every ant, but because you broke the trail and blocked the door. The ants are still alive in the soil. They just stopped coming to your kitchen because the road they were following no longer exists. There is something else worth saying about the cost that goes beyond money. Every time the exterminator sprays, there is a chemical in your kitchen. On the floor where your grandchildren crawl, on the baseboard where the dog lies, in the air near the food you prepare. The spray companies say their products are safe when used as directed. I am sure they are, mostly, but the powder is fossilized shells. It is the remains of tiny creatures that lived in a lake 1,000,000 years ago. There is no chemical in it. There is nothing manufactured in it. It is ground-up rock. You can eat it. Your grandchildren can touch it. The dog can walk through it. It is the kind of solution that does not require you to wonder whether it is safe. You know it is safe because you know what it is. My mother kept that line at the door for over 40 years. She refreshed it twice a summer. 2 applications per year. 10 minutes total. The kitchen was spotless. No chemicals on the counter, no spray in the air, no bill from an exterminator, just a line of ancient dust and the patience to let it work. She told me once that the English spend money to fight things that a little knowledge would prevent. She was not being unkind, she was being observant, and she was right. The powder is at any farm supply store for $1 or $2. The vinegar is in your pantry. The ants are following a trail that you can erase in 5 minutes and block with a line of dust that lasts all summer. Everything you need has been available for longer than any spray on the market has existed. The only thing missing was someone to tell you. Consider yourself told. If you want to hear what I am sharing next week, that is on your screen now. Stay with us.